talking about the people behind those artifacts. I would like to start with the first 2,000 years of computing. Has anybody seen the movie Hidden Figures? Well, if you saw that movie, you know that at one time, up until the 60s or so, computers were actually people who did very complex calculations using calculators. And as you can see here, most of those computers were women. That's because at the time, women really couldn't become engineers, but they could become mathematicians. So a lot of women doing this kind of work. Our first gathering here is all about calculators. So I'll meet you there and we'll talk about that there.
Chief, I beg, can I give you this? Sorry. I'll go take it back. Sorry.
No problem. Did you say?
It's his.
For thousands of years, people have been trying to find better ways to do addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Well, about 2,000 years ago, the Asians created this thing called the abacus. The abacus is a very good way of adding and subtracting large numbers accurately, once you know how to use it. And basically, today in China, they still teach their college or grade school kids to use abacuses. And they have nationwide contests for them. And when they get really, really good at it, they take the physical abacus away and make them use a mental abacus. So they can add, subtract large numbers in their head. I wish I could do that. And they actually really distrust calculators. So we have a calculator here that comes with an abacus as a backup. Now, over time we created other computational devices. Over here we have something called a slide rule, otherwise known as a slipstick. When I was in college, we all carried these on our hips. They're a very good way of doing multiplication, division, sines, cosines, logarithms, and so forth. Those slide rules actually were used to build 747s, and they took us into space. So very nice computational instrument. We also created something called adding machines. We have some early adding machines over here. We have some later adding machines over here. The way these machines work, there's a keyboard. You enter a number in there, and then you turn a crank, and it adds it to a register at the top. Now, if you have a machine that can do addition, and you want to do multiplication, what do? You just keep adding, because multiplication is really successive addition. So you just keep turning the crank. Now, later they replaced that crank with a motor, so you can press a button, and it will do the calculation. If you ever get your hands on one, enter a large number in there, multiply it by a large number, press that button, and watch that thing just churn to get the answer. All that kind of ended with the advent of the electronic calculator. And I have here on my wrist an electronic calculator from the 70s. Now, you can see, it's got little tiny buttons on it. This was my father's. He was a geek, just like me. Now, I'm going to pass this around so you can take a look at it. This is not a souvenir. I really like it back. It's very dear to me. So please pass it around. Besides this artifact here, there's another one here that I really love. It's right around the corner. Excuse me, gentlemen. This is what is called the Hermit calculator. I'm going to tell you some stories about it. Basically, it was used, you can see it's very small, it's handheld, portable, mechanical, there's no batteries in here, and it was used by people doing calculating on the people like surveyors, sports car rally drivers, in some cases airline
Oh, have you seen this?
Yes. It's a very nice device for that. Now, the man that created this, I actually called him a calculator that saved a man's life. It was created by a man named Curtis, and Curtis was Jewish. Everybody get a chance to see this? He lived in Nazi Germany during World War II. He was arrested. He was sent to a concentration camp called Buchenwald. Most of the people who went into Buchenwald, unfortunately, never came out. However, the Nazis knew he was designing it. They wanted this for their military, so they allowed him to live. They gave materials to do the design, and they told him once Hitler won the war, he would probably give him a medal for designing this for the military. Well, fortunately, the war ended in 1945, and Curtis was released. He started building prototypes for this. Next thing that happened to poor Mr. Curtis, somebody came up to him and said, "Curtis, the Soviets are looking for you." He was behind Soviet lines. They wanted this for their military. So he smuggled himself with his prototypes out to a little country in Europe called Liechtenstein. There he opened up a factory, started producing these in 1947. Now I have an ad here for a Curtis from the 1950s. And you can see it's quite reasonably priced. About $135. Well, that's 1950s dollars. In terms of today's dollars, that would be about $1,000. Now, these are collector's items. You can go on eBay any day of the week and buy these for $1,000 or more. Geeks like me love them. As a matter of fact, about a year ago, I went on eBay and bought one for $1,000. Now, I have that calculator on loan to the museum. And on Saturdays, we have high school interns showing artifacts out in the gallery. And sometimes they show that Curta. So it's a fascinating device. As a matter of fact, I love this so much. I have a 3D printer, and I'm printing one of these. It's about 3 times the size. But, and it's got 400 parts. So I'm having a year-long project. Now, everything else in this gallery is used for doing computation on things that have already been counted. What I'd like to talk about next is a revolutionary machine actually used for counting. It's going to be right through that archway there. So what this is called a Holler calculating machine. And I'll tell you some stories about it. The United States Constitution requires that the government do a census of the entire nation every 10 years. The purpose of that census is to determine how many people from each state in the United States will be in the U.S. House of Representatives. However, governments are very curious. They want to know what's going on in the country. So for the 1880 census, they asked a whole bunch of questions, like how many people in your family, the genders of everybody, the education level, the income level, how much property do you own, what languages do you speak? They just asked a lot of questions. They wrote all that information down, and then they sent it back on paper into Washington. And it took 7 years to hand tabulate all that information. And the government was really worried because a lot of immigration. They were worried the 1890 census was going to take more than 10 years to tabulate. So they had a contest for a better way to do the tabulation. That contest was won by this gentleman. His name is Herman Olive, and this is what he created, a Holler tabulating machine. Now, the way this system works is you still have guys going out asking everybody in the country questions. However, rather than writing many answers down, they just made a little mark on a form. Then the guy would take that form and he'd put it in front of that machine there, move that stylus around, and where there was a mark, he would push the stylus down. When he did that, he would punch a hole in that card behind that. This is a representation of that card. Now these holes each represent some specific piece of information. This may represent somebody of the female gender. This may represent a high school degree, etc. Now notice that the card is the same size as the money of the era. There was a good reason for that. There were a lot of carrying cases for money. So he could punch his cards up, put them in the carrying case, and send them back to Washington. When they arrived in Washington, there was a building full of machines like this. So an operator would take that card, he'd put it under there, and he'd pull that handle down. When he pulled the handle down, little probes would drop down. And if there was a hole in the card, the probe would drop through the hole and make an electrical contact. When it did that, it would increment these counters. So with one pull of the handle, you can count 40 things at once. However, wait, there's more. Let's suppose you were interested in nation of immigration, Scotland, France, Germany. Let's suppose you were interested in high school degree. Well, when you pulled the handle down, you would know how many French immigrants you had, and you would know how many people had high school degrees. What you would not know is how many French immigrants had high school degrees. So, you program the machine such that, based on the information, one of these doors opens. Let's suppose this door opens for French immigrants. Well, the operator would take the card and drop it in there. Later, you could pull all those French immigrant cards out, put them back through the machine. Now when you pulled the handle that said you had a high school graduate, you would know you had a French immigrant high school graduate. That's what we call sorting today. And using that method, they were able to come up with all sorts of demographic information. This brochure here is from that 1890 census. The other thing is that once all those cards arrived back, it only took 7 weeks to get that initial determination. 7 weeks, 7 years. I'd say that's revolutionary. Now, an interesting thing about the gentleman, Mr. Holliday, he was kind of a jerk. And the guys at the Census Bureau didn't like him. They were looking for another company to do the census. Well, Holliday was also pretty smart. He hired another guy to represent the company. That man's name was Thomas Watson. Thomas Watson eventually became the CEO. And in 1942, he renamed the company to International Business Machines. So we had to start.
Watson started IBM, International Business Machines.
That's right. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, and you see, sometimes it's jacks that make revolutionary things happen.
Yes.
People you don't like.
Our president knows his history. I wonder if we can ask Buhari that.
That's right.
You know.
Real-time computing.
That's right. Real-time computing. Abi? Abi? And go to London. The old... Didn't they offer you one of this during Abiola's time and you turned it down?
We have had to put it in the museum now.
Yes. He was offered one of this and turned it down. It's Mercedes. This orbit.
This is airplane.
This is the northern drone site. This is for dropping bombs. All of these now can fit into the nail. Everybody has made progress for Nigeria.
Nothing.
You don't even have a museum.
Museum? Washington DC museum. All our Africa history.
Memory storage and things. So,
Fine.
what do you take? Mechanical memory. So this is just for a memory of 1.5 kV. You have to carry 800 pounds. This is 1 kg, 1.5 kg. 800 pounds. Now, like 10 terabytes can fit into the pocket.
Programs to decode the digital bits.
What about this? CPU.
Copy that.
So this was 2.5 megabytes memory size of 8 megabytes. Cost 3,000. This used to cost 2 million. Just 8 megabytes. Let's go to software.
Computing average of all our salaries.
We invent languages and run a simulator of the languages so that we can allow people who are experts in businesses do their own programming. And one of our goals in the 70s, which I think has happened, is that most people feel empowered to change their computer.
Writing standardized, compact
Feel
instructions.
empowered to change Nigeria, man.
Amen.
Because it happens from just one person, a few people.
That's right.
You take it back.
Take it back. Action.
That's the first mainframes. See the history of computers. ATMs. That's a great, yeah.
As a student from the University of Minnesota, he astonished engineering professors with his problem-solving abilities. He found the ideal place to launch his career in 1950, Engineering Research Associates, where he was able to do what he did best.
IBM Roadrunner. 98 terabytes of memory, 5 miles of fiber optic connection system. How fast was the Roadrunner? Every one of the 6.8 billion people on Earth use a handheld calculator. One calculation per second. It take them 430 years to accomplish what a Roadrunner does in one day. Analog versus digital. We keep electing the likes of Buhari, will take 430 years. So I don't know what we can do in a year.
Sorry to laugh. It's a sad story. Preso, I think you want us to go back.
Yes, because we don't have time. We
Yes.
just want to run through this very quickly. Something newer. New approach to computers is the first PC ever, right?
That's right.
Please do not touch. Look at this, 9,200. This one will buy you like a house full of computers, these days.
Is this the price now?
Price for this now.
Or when? Or back then?
This was back then. Price of data general was 1969.
Jeez.
So it was 1970. I wasn't even born when this was.
No.
Like this is Unix. live free or die.
So what are the price now? If they were
Now, less than $1, because nobody's buying them.
wow.
Your cell phone is more powerful than all of everything that's here. It's less powerful than your cell phone. That's the truth. And for us, this is education. This should be in the university in Nigeria. Probably
Yes.
every university's got one of this. What's this one? It's nice. It's a mobile robot with cameras and touch sense controlled by large. All of this now is what we are using. Look at robots of those days.
Now they talk.
Now they talk.
They cook. They order meals for you.
And you can have one of them as your girlfriend.
Yes. It's called her.
Sadly.
It is. Disconnecting humans. Or connecting.
Our AI was all about decision trees. Now you can just actually, you can.
So this is IBM in 1989.
We have reinforced
To develop a computer that would beat reigning world chess champion Gary Kasparov. I think I remember this one. The first computer Deep Talk lost to Kasparov in 1989. 1996, the named Deep Blue met Kasparov for a best of 6 games match. In the first game, Deep Blue made history by defeating Kasparov, but Kasparov bounced back to win the match with a score of 4-2. The 6th game match took place in New York. In May 1997, Kasparov won the first game but lost the second game. Kasparov never recovered his composure. In the last game, he made a simple mistake and lost, marking May 11, 1998. One week, the world chess champion lost the match. And since then, next year, it's going to be the first time the old guys will lose the match to us.
Amen.
And that will be the beginning of progress.
Take it back. Action. The battery is low.
Okay, this is a sneaker that uses microchip technology to check up on your performance when you're running. Interesting. I need one of those. Where's the movement direction that we're heading after? I think
Innovators saw potential in consumer markets. In the late 70s and early 80s, two new home computers, both with color displays, hit the market. The Apple II personal computer and the Commodore 64 personal computer. Both gave users easy ways to explore this new field on their own. Players were captivated, jumping into fantasy worlds as explorers, intrepid plumbers, or as spacemen, light years beyond the needle and wedge graphics of the Space War era. The 1984 release of Apple's graphically powerful Macintosh computer led to an explosion of consumer-focused graphics and art creation tools, products that yielded sophisticated results.
This is the computer museum in San Francisco.
Digital research with its control
Mountain View, Mountain View.
this one was designed so that you can type while you're riding.
Yes. Oh, really?
I think it's to this modern day driverless car. This is designed so that you can type while you're riding. Is that what probably journalist cars there? Can you imagine that Nokia 9000 communicator is already in the museum and Buhari is not? Wow. Look at Blackberries.
I had one of those.
Yes, I had one of those too. It's Blackberry of blessed memory.
Yeah, so I can't believe it.
Wow.
It's a display now.
So most of you must have used this before.
Yes,
Palm 4, I remember Palm 4 too. Not Palm 6, isn't it?
It's Palm 7.
Palm 7, yes. Wow. And the rim, pager. Oh my
Wow.
goodness. I had a pager
1998, yes. Pager age. 911, 411.
These guys are all in the museum.
Call
now.
home, 211. The codes.
You know all the codes.
All the codes now. It was all codes. I actually miss it. A little.
Yeah. I would still use pagers.
Yes, it's important.
This is pilot. This is the one-touch organizer. Look at the infrastructure around it.
Where we come from to now.
And this wasn't long ago.
It's not.
It's like,
It shows advancement.
first search engine. What? Tell me about Google Rack. Search site. Okay. Wow. Lycos. And I know like InfoSync too. I remember InfoSync. Hooligans.
No.
And Google.
Look how old is that?
And Google just kept improving. That is backlog. Wow. That's private China. Welcome to Ask Jeeves. I remember that shit. Wow.
That's what Google used to look like, huh?
Virtual libraries. Remember that. Go to, I don't remember using Control. Alta Vista. Alta Vista. Yes.
Moving on.
At CERN Labs in Switzerland, Tim Berners-Lee finally brought the pieces together.
All right, let's go to Yes, about use.
It's getting there. It's almost.
Want to see technology
This is running out.
focused on this healthcare and personalization and customization of healthcare and doing a much better job in the education of our children.
I was talking about the
Healthcare.
that can help educate our children.
Yes.
You will see technology actually permeating in all aspects of the job. So it's not that the technology jobs only change just for the people who are technical, but people who are doing untechnical work in support areas, they will also use it on a more technological that is going up. So I see that happening, and that means a lot of people can actually hold this very excited technology.
I mean, organizers are using technology. Organizers can have a company that they have machines with players and text message. And the organizer process the environment for you. He doesn't need to look for cash. The barcode that we paid. Boom. That's just one small example. Small. Let's move.
Yep.